Morning everyone, and welcome back to the Runpreneur blog, where we discuss all things entrepreneurship and running. It's a brutally cold morning. It's the feels like temperature is minus 7 degrees. There's a real nipping breeze as well, so not great running conditions. Can barely feel my fingers and toes already. But today's topic is outsourcing your social media communications. So it's Tuesday Tactics today. It's where we discuss all things business systems and outsourcing, and hopefully this one will be a really good one to help you in your business. So as always, if you like this episode, please give it a like and a subscribe, and let's get started. So, outsourcing your social media communications. Well, this is one of the key distractions of inbound comms that you'll come up with in your daily lives. Generally speaking, the others are email, post, social media comms, text messaging, people, phones calls, okay? And what we're going to focus on today is social media communications and how you can get it more under control and stop it taking over your life and stop it distracting you in every way, shape or form. So first and foremost, it's key to understand that it is a distraction, and anything that's reactive that you have to react to, super muddy here, really muddy, I'm running in here. So it's really important to understand that anything that makes you react is a distraction. In an ideal world, you want your days to be proactive, i.e. planned. You know what you're going to do ahead of your time with as few distractions or reactions as possible. So you want to try and avoid reactive work. Now, inbound comms are one of the biggest guilty parties when it comes to distractions and reactive workload. And so if you're building a social brand or social following, this will be one of the biggest ones you'll need to contend with. Now, I'm not a master of this one. I've done it, I've tried it, I use different ideas, so I'm going to give you some hints and tips today, and I think you need to find something that works for you a little bit more effectively. Now, with social communication, okay, it's difficult because whereas you can kind of template lots of things in life, templating your personality is very difficult. And when people connect with you on social, and if you're committing to respond to everybody, then it's really difficult to get somebody else to respond as you would, because you've got your own unique personality, you've got your own unique way of responding to questions and answering certain topics in different ways. So that's the first kind of obstacle you need to overcome. Can you overcome it? Yes, but it takes time and effort and commitment from both you and whoever's going to be managing this on your behalf. So the first thing you need to do is provide access to your social platforms. Now, if you're using kind of business pages and company pages and stuff, it's a lot easier because you generally get the admin side of the site that allows you to kind of share access with people outside basically people who are not you. If you're doing it on your personal profiles, then you need to use something like LastPass, which is password sharing software, so that you can share access, and you need to kind of go through the security checks where you might have to input a code with them to give them access for the first time, but then once the browser is saved, they generally have access. So a lot of people will be very, I wouldn't do this unless I'd worked with someone for a considerable amount of time and I trusted them, because ultimately you're giving them access to your Facebook account or your other social accounts and your personal name. So it is something that trust needs to be built with whoever you're using. Yes, you can protect the password, and yes, if something goes wrong, you can cancel their access immediately. But that's the first thing you need to kind of overcome. So you need to work out the risk reward. I would not be bringing somebody in, cold, and then letting them work on my social media profiles until they've worked with me a considerable amount of time. My kind of PVA, personal virtual assistant, who does this for me, has been working with me about 4 years. So we've worked together for so long, the trust is there, and she's been managing my social profiles for so long now that we're okay with that, and it seems to work. So that's one thing. Access is the first thing. Second thing, you need to look at how you're going to deal with it, because if you look at how you outsource emails, which is kind of similar in this regard, what you're doing is you're getting your VA or PA or whoever is going to be doing it is to, capture all the emails and the addresses and subjects, log them into a spreadsheet and create rules, or log them into task management software and create rules. Okay, that's fine with emails because of the volume. Social media interactions, you can still create a similar kind of process here, because when you start getting big social accounts or bigger social accounts, you start getting a lot of spam. So you can earmark people as spam, where your VA can then just can block them or remove them from your friends list or remove them from your connections. So that's kind of one rule that you can have. But anything where there's a response, it's difficult to template unless you're doing kind of outbound stuff to kind of generate sales leads. If you're doing that, you can create some templated messages that your VA can send on your behalf, but that's outbound. I'm talking about dealing with inbound stuff. So this is where you react as opposed to you proactively send somebody something. So with your reactive stuff, I think ultimately what you have to do, and this is kind of what I do, is the social media messages. Well, here's the other thing, okay? You've also got, the problem with social media profiles is most people will use them most of the time on their mobile devices, okay? So you can give somebody access to your social platforms, they can pull your messaging and put that into your project management software or a spreadsheet of some kind, so that you can start responding to things and building up a kind of an archive or a library of responses that they can dip in and out of in the future, which is kind of templated responses, 4 or 5 for similar different questions that are asked, and that will give the variation that your VA can use to respond on your behalf. However, you've then got the issue with the mobile devices as well, and if you're anything like me, because I'm guilty at this is something that I've never really mastered because of mobile devices. Okay, I don't go on social profiles when I'm working generally, but it's my mobile device that I can't help but checking on every now and then I'll get sucked into responding to a few on my behalf. So I kind of override the process. In an ideal world, what would happen is every day the VA would pull all my messaging and would pull it across into a project in Asana, okay, my project management software. So it's just, there are some possible algorithms with some, not algorithms, into automations with certain social platforms. Certainly from a kind of a business page or company page, you can have a central kind of inbox for comms where you can manage this stuff. But I'm talking about personal social profiles here as well, where you don't have that functionality. So with those, we get the VA to pull those communications into an Asana project. So I have an inbox project in my project management software where any emails, any inbound comms goes, and I'll clear that once a day. And what you find is over the course of time, to begin with, you get quite a lot, but as you've provided rules and templated answers for each, because what you're doing, every time you respond to one, the virtual assistant is logging that in a document, which is set up by the different questions that are asked. So she'll try and group them and make them relatively generic. So it might be that it's a question about, I don't know, it might be a question about a piece of software, for example. If that question comes up again, I'll have a stock answer for it, and that way she can check every time. Morning. Morning. That way the VA can then check the kind of archive of stock answers for everyone. It's only when a new question comes in that we provide a new answer. If we're getting the question quite frequently, we'll often do several variations of an answer so that the VA can again respond on my behalf, and it's different enough to show that it's not just a cut and paste answer. So, but you'll gauge this as you start seeing what's coming in. So for example, if somebody's inquiring about one of the products or services, there'll be a call booking link with one of the members of the sales team. Okay, so that will be a generic answer that will go back out saying, something generic, and saying, we'd love to have a chat with you about this, please book a call, and one of the sales guys will pick that up. So these are types of ways you can kind of field a lot of these inbound communications. So it is a slow burn. So very simply, what I do, I have an inbox project in Asana where any emails that we don't have rules for comes into, any post that hasn't got rules for comes into, anything that comes in through the gatekeeper, which is my kind of PVA, will come into the inbox project. So there's lots of automations we have using Zapier and different pieces of software, which gets everything in to my inbox. Okay, once it's in my inbox, I clear the inbox every day. It normally takes me about 10 minutes because it's so little now, because I've got so many rules and responses and stuff set up. But when you start this, you'll find that it might be quite overwhelming. There might be quite a lot of things to deal with, but you need to stick with the process. So when something comes in, you're either giving it a rule or a response. Okay, if it's something that, you know, if it's like a marketing email, for example, that might go in a marketing folder. That's a rule. If it's assigned to somebody else in your team to deal with, that's a rule. Okay, if you need to respond to it, you give a response. So they're the two different factors, rules and responses. Now when you give a response, your VA needs to have a document of some kind where she's logging all your responses in reference to which questions are asked. Okay, so you're building up a kind of an FAQs way to respond to social media. Okay, and okay, you're always going to get variants and new variations, so it's always going to be new stuff that comes in. But once you've done this long enough, you will be surprised that there's quite a lot of communications that come in that's very similar. For prime example, I have a standard response because I get a lot of questions on my social profiles about what camera am I using to record these vlogs. Okay, it's completely irrelevant to the content I'm producing, but loads of people are interested in the camera that I use. So I have a stock answer. So every time that question comes in, the VA responds and tells them what camera I use and the equipment I use for it. If you're interested, it's a Insta360 1R camera with an invisible selfie stick. So it's a 360-degree action cam with an invisible selfie stick. But that's key to kind of understand as a perfect example of how you can kind of, I don't get those inbound communications anymore, which is super cool. So hopefully that makes sense. Now I will be doing some video training on this stuff in the future when I'm kind of building products and services in the back end, but I'm always conscious I'm not selling on this vlog, so I will provide some free resources to some capacity trying to help people who follow me with these systems and processes I have in place. But as you can probably appreciate, it's far easier me showing you this or sharing a screen with you than when I'm talking and running and trying to explain intricacies of systems and processing setup that I operate. But if I was going to summarise this process, you know, outsourcing social media comms. Okay, so firstly, if it's a company or a brand page of some kind, there's normally some facility within the platform so that external people can access your account, and there's a generic inbox that everybody can access to and can respond on your behalf. So you can run that through the actual software platforms themselves, the social media platforms themselves, should you be doing it just on a business or brand base. If you're doing it on a personal perspective and you need to get over the access issue with the VA to make sure, or the PVA or the PA, whoever you're using, to ensure you're comfortable with them accessing your personal accounts. Once they've got access, you want all your social media messaging to be pulled into a task management software like Asana, whereby it gives you the capability to set rules for each different type of message or a response. Rules will stop the same thing happening again. So it might be any sales messages, the rule could be assigned to the sales team, and then the sales team will follow that up. That's a rule. Okay, a response is something that's bespoke, asking me something that only I can respond. I will respond, but my response that I'll do in Asana, I won't do it on the platform, will be responded to on my behalf by the VA. At that point, they'll update the FAQs sheet that we have, which is a huge number of pages long, which is all my responses for different variations of different questions. Okay, and as we start building that archive up, if you get a similar question that comes in, it allows her to respond on my behalf. Okay, so, and it'll still be done in your tone of voice. So it doesn't happen overnight, but it's something you have to persevere with. Generally speaking, if you do this process for kind of 2 to 4 weeks, you'll start seeing a significant reduction in the amount of social media traffic. The other thing to be aware of is that you can still override this, okay, because the VA is monitoring it. If you've responded directly, she won't pull that information in, but she'll still take your response and put it into the FAQ library, so you can still have access to it and that side of things. And if you're not comfortable using the kind of company or brand business suite setup of the social platforms, exactly the same can be done for those pages where that's pulled in to your social media inbound project in Asana or project management software, and it can still be run through that process. But in true simplicity, somebody else is taking the inbound comms, putting it into a project management software, so you're not getting distracted. Because if you go into those social media profiles, you'll lose minutes and hours every day. Try and steer clear of them. Let somebody else do that. Let somebody else bring in the communications to you in your project management software. You can respond to it on your own time, on your own behalf, and they'll respond through the platforms for you. Okay, so it stops you getting so many distractions. Secondly, it's about creating rules or responses for each inbound social media comms that comes in. And once you've done this long enough, you'll have rules that will tackle the kind of really broad range stuff, and you have responses that will be applicable to anything that's more bespoke. And every time that same question comes up, the VA will be able to respond on your behalf. So hope that's useful. I'm just going to wait for this big digger to go past me, but that's pretty much it for me today. So as always, hope you found this useful. If you've got any questions on this, drop me a comment. I'll respond to every one. If it's a bigger topic, I'll do a separate vlog episode and tag you in. As always, if this is irrelevant to you, just unfollow me. You don't have to unfriend me, but unfollowing me will stop it cluttering up your news feeds or in your social profiles. And but before you do that, please do check out the Runpreneur YouTube channel, as I do different topics every day of the week. So just because today's episode may not be relevant, there may be other days that are very relevant to you. So check that out. It's a completely free resource. Also check out the links in my bios, whereby I'm building out my free resources section of the vlog. So the first one being my 70-step process for content repurposing, reformatting and optimising your content across all social platforms. So if you are putting more content out there and you want to find an efficient way of doing it, please check out that checklist. It's completely free and hopefully it will help you at some point in the future. So all that's left to say is that the Runpreneur vlog was set up to help entrepreneurs and business owners overcome the emotions of stress, overwhelm and anxiety by using exercise, or in my case running, as like a release valve or release mechanism to kind of maintain clarity and focus and relieve those pressures to enable you to stay in control. And I think it's often the difference between success and failure, how well an entrepreneur deals with these emotions. The ones that do it well have clarity and focus, keep in control and move on to bigger and better things. The ones that don't, the pressure builds like pressure does in a pipe. So pressure is being in the form of stress. It builds and builds and builds, tends to overwhelm. Before you know it, it's anxiety, and boom, the pipe bursts. And in this case, the entrepreneur has a mental breakdown, or the business breaks down. And unfortunately, either of those scenarios can often be terminal to the likelihood of your business lasting the test of time. So I've been there. I've lost multiple businesses because of my inability to deal with these emotions. I've lost business partners, and I've also almost been bankrupt. And it's pretty dark, it's pretty grim, and I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. So my pledge to you is that I've been there, okay? And it's no coincidence that ever since I've introduced this kind of release mechanism in my life, which is this running vlog to me, it might be something very different to you. In the last 8 months, I've made more progress than I have in the previous 3 to 4 years. And that's no coincidence. So I'm pretty aware of the difference that it's made to my life. And if I can help other people, just drop me a message, okay? And there's no sale here or no catch or anything. I'll jump on a call with you, and if you're struggling with your journey, let me try and help you. Let me give you a few steps that have helped me, that will hopefully help you too, and hopefully get you back on the right path. Many of you have taken me up on this already, and I know we've made a big positive difference to many entrepreneurs out there. As I always said, if this vlog just saves one entrepreneur, one business, it's been 1,000,000% worthwhile. So on that note, that's it. As always, if you like this episode, please give it a like, a comment and a subscribe. If you want to see similar content, check out the playlist link on the YouTube channel for more similar content. And all that's left to say is stay positive, stay happy, and see you tomorrow. Bye.